Hi, I'm Erin Maygard, founder of Kinderlaunch Consulting, and today I want to dive into some tips for those who are interested in opening and operating a childcare center but don't have any experience in the field. While this may seem like a pretty big barrier to entry, if you are truly passionate about owning and operating a preschool, it's certainly very doable if you are invested in exploring the right resources, gaining a little bit of background knowledge, and building the right team. There's also a lot of reasons why someone may want to look into opening a preschool, but they don't have any experience. Perhaps you want to explore entrepreneurship in a family-friendly environment. You may have a church and want to utilize some open space that you have available during the week, or sometimes companies are interested in bringing childcare on site to benefit their employees. So there's lots of reasons, and if you don't have experience in this industry, don't worry, here are a couple tips to help you prepare. So I want to start by talking about my journey into becoming a preschool operator. I actually grew up in a family that owned and operated preschools. I started off going to our preschools, attending them as a young child, and then just grew up in that environment. In college, I spent some time assisting in the classroom as an aide, and then went to college for business. And then upon graduating, I decided I was going to do something entirely different. So did that for a while before deciding to circle back and becoming involved in operating my family's schools. So when I did that, I knew that I wanted to become at least teacher certified, if not director certified, just so that I had that background knowledge. And so I took some online courses in early childhood education through UCLA's extension program. It was really convenient to be able to just dive into those classes when I had the time available. And it gave me a really helpful foundation to understand what was going on in the classroom, what was important for the program, and just a great introduction to early childhood education. From there, I benefited from the guidance of my family, who really showed me the ropes of what it takes to operate a center. And my mom actually got into this industry back in the 80s. She had a background in finance and real estate, so she has an MBA, and decided to switch gears. So she actually got into this industry without experience, at least in early childhood education, but a really strong business and operations background, which if you are considering getting into this industry and you have that knowledge, I think it really transfers well. And she hired a very knowledgeable director and utilized a consultant to open her first school. From there, she just dedicated herself to learning from the staff that she'd brought on board and becoming knowledgeable through them. And I think that's such a powerful thing to recognize where our strengths are. So with her strength being in finance and in operations, she really utilized that to her advantage and put together a solid team that she was able to learn from. So I think that's something that other people can do as well. So that's how my family got into this industry. We've been at it almost 40 years now. So even now that we've been in this industry quite a long time, we have a very solid understanding of what makes a great program. I myself am teacher qualified. I still stay on the back end of our schools and handle the operations, the business end, and have fully qualified directors and assistant directors that run my operations. And I have found out that that setup works really well for me, and I think it can work well for anyone else who isn't coming to this industry from, a home daycare or having worked as a teacher. If they're coming from the outside, I think it's very doable if you are able to surround yourself with the right people, the right business coaches, the right early childhood education coaches, consultants, and hiring a great director team. So as I mentioned previously, you don't have to be an expert in early childhood education to put together a great school. But I do think it's worth taking a couple courses in early childhood education so you can just build that foundation, understand the basics, and really develop a solid idea of the type of school and the type of service that you want to provide to families. You need to be able to recognize quality and hire the people that will be able to implement that quality. I think it's very helpful as well to hire a business consultant or work with a franchise that is going to provide you with that background as well, and then making sure that you build the right team. I definitely don't recommend trying to be everything to everyone. If you want to direct right off the bat, I think that's biting off a lot. I think there's something to be said again about recognizing where your strengths are, where your skills are, and then utilizing other people to bring strengths that are your weaknesses to the table and putting together a really solid team. If you want to take a few online courses, like I mentioned before, UCLA Extension is a great option. There are so many online courses if you'd like to do something in person. Many of the community colleges are offering courses that you can take. So there's lots of opportunities, lots of different types of courses. There's also a lot of nonprofit programs that are out there to help you put together a school if you'd like to pursue this. There is a big shortage of childcare in a lot of different regions, and there are a number of organizations that have been designed to help people put together centers to help create those childcare spots. So just do your research, take a look into those opportunities, and take advantage of those organizations. Next, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to hire a very experienced director for your school. So this is someone that's been directing for a long time, that has a background in quality, ideally someone that's opened a center before, that has a really strong knowledge in licensing regulations. While I do recommend that you look through all of the licensing regulations, it takes a long time for you to really become familiar with them, and so familiar that you're able to reference them, and when situations come up, you're able to identify what may be an issue versus isn't an issue, or things that you need to take into account. So you need someone that's going to be able to just naturally pull that information from their memory. So when you are looking for the director, don't jump immediately at hiring someone if they're not really ticking all of those boxes. I truly feel that they are one of the most important, if not the most important hire that you will make. You also want to make sure that they are a really strong leader. It's great to have a lot of knowledge in this industry, but you very much have to be a people person that can manage staff, because that is going to be your biggest challenge, definitely. Managing a large staff, especially if you're doing a large center, and you want someone that's going to be able to just meld those employee skills as well as their early childhood education background. Lastly, I just want to say, as you're doing your research, as you're putting things into practice, don't be afraid to make a couple of mistakes along the way. Everyone is going to make mistakes at some point, no matter how experienced you are. But as as things come up, don't be afraid to pivot when you find out that something isn't working in your business plan, something isn't working in your new program. Just be prepared to be flexible and pivot from those situations. And I think adaptability is one of the biggest key factors to being successful in this business. If you're approaching early childhood education as a business, if you are approaching it also just to provide, a fantastic service to your employees or your church members, making sure that you remain adaptable is going to be so key to being successful, and also committing yourself to continuing learning, being involved in local organizations that cater to early childhood education industry and so forth. So know that there are things that are going to come up that are going to be challenging, and make you struggle and question your experience, but don't let that stop you from continuing to strive to provide a good service, continuing to be invested in this industry. It happens to everyone, and I think anyone that is passionate about what they're doing will find a way. So just look for those resources, whether it's going through organizations, if it's online courses, if it's looking for a great consultant, there are people who are available to you to help you out. So just don't let things like a lack of experience get in the way if you are truly interested in opening a childcare center.